let's talk about Extraction, a Netflix original film released this year, 2020, starring Chris Hemsworth and directed by Sam Hargrave, and the story was developed by Joe and Anthony Russo. The film is based off of a graphic novel and follows Chris Hemsworth, a mercenary who is hired to save a crime lord's son after they're kidnapped. And that's the movie. If you're looking for an action film on Netflix, this was a pretty solid action movie. There was definitely some awesome sequences. The action sequences looked nice. Like good choreography, good effects. There was my favorite part of this movie in total was a scene where these kids who were kind of manipulated by the guy who kidnapped the son to kind of work for him. So this group of kids goes and attacks Chris Hemsworth, and it reminded me a lot of scenes of Jackie Chan fighting people and kind of using them to hurt themselves and hurt everyone else in the group. Because Chris Hemsworth is a trained mercenary, he's just like tossing these kids around like they're nothing, and they're punching one another, and honestly was really hilarious and was my favorite part of the whole movie. But if you're looking for something with a great story, this is not really the movie for you. I mean, I went into this movie not expecting this groundbreaking story. I was just looking for an action movie, and that's pretty much what I got. There were just a lot of flaws within the story. Just like the pacing of the film, there wasn't really a story, and there's not really any kind of character development or relationships or anything. And I think that really hurts the movie as a whole. Like a lot of movies, starts off in the action and then does the infamous 2 days ago to introduce the characters and explain why the first scene happened. But I think that was a complete waste of time because everything that they did in those 2 days was just introducing the characters and showing the kid being kidnapped. And I think that was a waste because none of the characters build any kind of relationship or really anything during that 2 days. Like, we were introduced to the son's uncle. I don't think it was ever really explained who this guy was. He just worked for his father, and I think I just assumed that he was his uncle. But, like, he pops back up after he's kidnapped. But when he pops back up, there really isn't anything there to care about because in the beginning with the 2 days, the relationship between him and the son isn't developed at all. There isn't anything. The woman who hires Chris Hemsworth at the beginning, there's a little hint that there's a relationship, like they know each other and stuff, but there's nothing. There's nothing present while you're watching the scene. And the only relationship that has any kind of growth through dialogue and shown that exists and actually having a relationship is between Chris Hemsworth and David Harbour. Even though it's a pretty brief part of the movie, at least it's there. So that's definitely one of the best sequences of characters in this whole movie. And it's not even between the two main, Chris Hemsworth and the kid. It's just between Chris Hemsworth and a past ally of his, David Harbour. The big problem with this movie is the dialogue. I think those whole 2 days could have been cut out. The movie should have started off when the kid was kidnapped and Chris Hemsworth shows up. Because I think that sequence where he goes to save the son, that is one of the better action sequences of the movie. That would have been a perfect place to start the film. And you don't know what's going on. And then through dialogue, after he saves the kid, and the kid's like, who are you? What's going on? That's how you explain the story. And that's how it unfolds. That's how you build up a relationship between Hemsworth and the kid. which really isn't established. The only kind of bond relationship that they create is through one conversation, and that's towards the end of the film. And I think that was just too late. And it was just like them being chased over and over and over again, and it kind of just like that you don't care about any of the characters because nothing is being built up or anything. It's just them being chased. So you don't really care for what's going on or what's happening. So I think it really hurts the film. I really think the film should have focused on just dialogue and really revealing what's going on through that. And it would have been more interesting, and it really would have paid off in the end. Because if you take out those 2 days, the characters that just pop back up, you really like. Honestly, when the uncle pops back up, I didn't even recognize who he was for like a good couple minutes because you see him one time at the beginning. So like you're like, oh, I've seen him before, but there wasn't anything built up to really care. So this movie should have focused on dialogue and less on exposition at the beginning. That should have just been cut out. Save that time. Use that time in building up the characters during the film, during the action sequences of the film. And I just heard that they're making a sequel to this movie, and it's kind of just like, it's really upsetting that this movie and a lot of other movies that are just okay are getting so much buzz, and there's so many movies that have come out in the past that just don't get any kind of coverage. Like, people don't even know that they exist, and they're so much better, and it's disappointing. Like, this movie's getting a sequel, and I know of plenty of other action movies, plenty of just other movies that deserve a sequel over this, and it's just disappointing because, like, honestly, like, I have no idea where they could go with the sequel, and I'm not excited to see the sequel. But if you're just looking for an action movie, because it wasn't that long of a film, so if you're just looking for action sequences and Chris Hemsworth, go check this one out. You'll have fun with the action if you just are there for the action. And like, if you watch old kung fu movies or old action movies, you're just there for the action for the most part. So if that's what you're looking for, then this movie's for you. So yeah, Extraction. It's streaming on Netflix. Go check it out.